Mm. Hello? Is anyone there? Oh my God. My gosh. Mm. Mm. Hello? Anyone there? Got a noisy day today. My older dog upstairs is fussing. Lately, for whatever reason, she has been sticking to me like glue. And I don't like to have anybody but Gromit down here. He's my very quiet dog. If I bring two of them and leave Blossom up there, then she'll be upset. But Mia right now is pitching a fit. Hey, Bonnie, how are you? I've been sitting here for hours because I'm working on my mystery. And yet, when it came time to hook it up, it took so long. I'm so frustrated. But anyway, Mark's got his motorcycle going out there. He's going to get ready and go for a little ride. He had a birthday this week, but he had to come in and help me. So, oh, here we go. We got people. Daphne, what a lovely name. Hi, Daphne. Mark has an Aunt Daphne. I just think that's the coolest name. So, hello, I'm Deb Johnson for Our Time to Quilt. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I have been working on a Merry May. She calls herself, for the mystery, she calls it Merry Mayhem. But she's a lovely designer out of New Jersey. And I've done her quilts for years. And you're welcome, Daphne. And I've done her quilts for years. And so I used to do some testing for her. I love doing testing for quilt designers. But the problem is they really need you to see if the written directions really work. And I'm more free-flying than that. And so I found myself just wanting to go with it, not following step-by-step directions. And I finally had to realize I'm not a good quilt tester. So I stopped doing that. But it was fun. But anyway, so some of the things I did, I am so sorry about my dog in the background. I'm going to probably leave my glasses on today so I can see the screen. You were asking, yeah. Oh, yes, I haven't gotten very far on it. Okay, Bonnie, I've known this mystery was coming for at least 2 months. I pulled the fabrics out a month ago. I kept walking past the stack of fabrics. You need to cut those out. Cutting out is not my favorite part of quilting. The finishing work is, the piecing it, and then the quilting is what I enjoy most. So do you think that I sat down here and there a month ago and cut out that fabric? Nope. I was cutting it out the other day, and then I came down here and spent 2 hours finishing cutting it out. Well, that doesn't help you get a mystery done. Hold on, let me back this out a second. Whoops, not that way. Okay, so I talk with my hands, so I have to be able to, if I keep my hands still, I can't talk. See? Very good. Anyway, but if I cut it out a month ago, you do know me, Bonnie. That's spooky. You do know me. Yes, because then I would have said, oh, I need to put this away so I don't lose it. And what would I have done? I would have lost it. But anyway, so I finished cutting it out this morning, and all the while she gave us 2 clues ahead of the game. So does anybody want to see what the finished quilt's going to look like? It is her design drawing. The probably was done in EQ8, but anybody want to see? Because I've printed out ahead of where I am. And all I can say is I am so tickled that I used good fabric, because I'm going to like this puppy. Okay, you ready? Yeah, and Daphne, Bonnie is our number one group site cheerleader. Bonnie, were you ever cheerleader in high school? Because you do a great job now. Oh, so of course, show us, you silly person. I was ginning up the excitement. Look at this. So I think I'm going to love this one. There it is again. You know what I'm thinking about? And am I still fuzzy today? I apologize if it's blurry. I have the slowest internet. I mean, there are times when it's uploading, it's like 1.5 Mbps, megabytes per second. I don't know. But anyway, so this is going to be a fantastic quilt. So, oh. Honey, you probably have an idea about my body type. I was a majorette. Yes. I was quite something in high school. All 5'7", blonde. Nice. But time changes everything. So one day I'll have to show you a picture of my majorette days. It was nice. I would have enjoyed it a whole lot more if I'd known it wasn't going to last. So, but you know what? I had a counselor tell me one time, be proud of your body because your body got you where you are. And I thought, you know what? That's a good point. My body has made it through double pneumonia, 6 abdominal surgeries. Included in that were 3 cesareans. I gave birth to 9 and 10-pound babies, mega babies. And I'm still here. What is it? Elton John says, I'm still standing. So yeah, I'm real proud of my body because it's done a good job, and it's been hit with some things over the years, let me tell you. But so today I'm going to start us out. Yeah, still on the right side of the ground. I heard a man say something, if it's a good day, if he wakes up on the right, oh, more like little, linemen or something, little halfbacks. So goodness gracious. But anyway, I had a man tell me, yeah, it's a good day. Anytime I wake up on the right side of the dirt, it's a good day. And I thought, oh, wow. And one time, years ago, I was complaining to my doctor at the time about all the little aches and pains we get as we get older. And he said, it's better than the alternative. And I thought to myself, yeah, you're right. Good point. I hope you won't mind. I'm going to eat the last of my cheese sandwich. I just wanted an American cheese sandwich. Mm-mm-mm. The older I get, it's like, you're right. If I don't see that obituary in the paper, it is a good day. But, so, I wish I had left one block unsewn. She had us, anybody out there ever do the new method of making flying geese? She had us take a 6.5 inch, or was it 6 1/4 inch big block, and then put 3 3/8 inch little blocks. Let me try to pretend I'm putting this back together. So we had the one big light colored block, then put these 2 little blocks here, sew on each side of the center line. Then when you cut them apart, you've got this. Oh gosh, today I'm making a video of this process. And today, Bonnie, you're going to love this one, hon. Oops, let me see. Oh, you like Devin's busy book. Well, that was fun. I made it in the band room at one of the high schools locally. You could hear a trombone in the background, and my daughter took the camera over for me, and we were just having the best time. Band kids are so amazing, and we had the best time outfitting them for the year. But earlier today, I was trying to make these, and I wanted to put to iron in front of the camera. And so I started to iron. I made sure that this was on a non-melt surface, but I didn't pay attention to the baggie that was right beside it. I really need to start saving for my blooper reel, because I'm going to have a blooper reel. But you see what the iron, well, I don't know if you can see what the iron did to the baggie, but there is a hole now. I was like, if those people out there knew the stuff you do, they would say, I'm not learning anything from that woman. So, but anyway, what I'm doing here is, now that I've got what essentially is one large triangle and 2 smaller triangles, and I always press to the dark, and what I do, you just get, this is dark fabric. It's an early Jinny Beyer, and the quality is nothing like her fabric today. I wonder how early this really is. But I know that these are the dark pieces. So I lay them on the ironing board with the dark pieces facing up. Then when I press them back, they're automatically pressed to the dark. So you end up with these 2 cute looking heart things. And then the next step is I have 2 more of the Jinny Beyer fabrics. And you take right sides together. This is the right side. You place it in this corner. And you pin it. I pin it out of the way. Then you would sew. There is a crease here. You probably can't see it. But I would sew 1/4 inch beyond the center line, and then come up this way 1/4 inch on the other side of the center line. And, they tell you to take a pencil and a ruler and draw a line on diagonals. I can't stand to draw on fabric because it always moves around. It shifts and ugh. So what I do is I take this block and I fold it in half like this. And I'll usually take about 4 at a time. I'll fold it in half and then I press it. And if you make sure that all your points are matching, then when you open it up, you've got a perfect line on your diagonal. See the line? Isn't that easier than drawing with a pencil? I tell you, there's a quilt I'm making. It's an Angela Walt. Oh, no, it's raining out. Oh, my poor Mark. Mark's birthday was Thursday. We've been so busy getting things done. With all the rain, we've had the invasion of the ants, little black sugar ants all over. He's sprayed for them twice, but it would rain right afterwards. So the ants keep marching in. And so this morning he went out and he was removing the brush. The other week and a half ago, we had a tree fall into our yard and smashed our 40-year-old dogwood. And so he was removing a lot of the debris. The city came by and removed a lot of it. And then the neighborhood association at some point is going to get somebody out here and they'll remove the rest of there's a couple big pieces. But he went out and removed all the branches and the leaves and because he just couldn't take it anymore. I just look out the window and it's raining now. That poor guy, he's been wanting to go on his motorcycle ride. I feel bad now. We went to a movie yesterday because I wanted to do something fun for us. And I heard about Mission Impossible and that it got a good rating. They said, don't worry about trying to follow a plot line, but just enjoy all the special effects and everything. I've got to tell you something. I haven't really been a big fan of Tom Cruise for a while. But the whole Scientology thing. But I tell you what, I was watching the movie thinking, he's really riding that motorcycle through those streets. He's really hanging on that rope below a helicopter. He's really doing this, isn't he? We came home, looked up on YouTube. He did his own stunts. And in fact, even broke his ankle in one of the stunts. But where he jumps like from top of one building to the top of next, he really did that. Yes, he had a safety wire on, but I don't know of any big time movie stars that do their own stunts like that. I mean, he did remarkable stunts. He was on that motorcycle with no helmet. That was scary. But he jumped out of a plane at 25,000 feet. He did that. And they showed the proof. They showed the cameraman filming him as he jumps out. And he did the diving thing, where they put their arms sleek by their side and shoot down. I'm like, oh my God, he really did all that. So I have a lot of respect for him professionally. But anyway, Mark and I went to see that yesterday. And the movie is a little outlandish. But now that I realize he did the stunts, I'm very impressed. So anyway, let me see what's going on. Oh, yes, Bonnie, I absolutely, I'll match you. You were making some chili mac and my elbow spaghetti was in a baggie I was pouring. Oh, the steam melted your baggie. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Oh, and you talking about, and Daphne, I'm one of my videos is a busy book. My grandson is attention deficit hyperactive, and he's a very smart boy. He is 11, just turned 11 this summer, and I made him a busy book. I had talked to him about it, and he thought, hey, that's great, and he loves doing that kind of stuff. So I had him over, and we made a busy book, and he just thought it was great, all the stuff I had in my junk drawer. So he helped me pick out what he wanted me to put in it. He helped me fix them, strung up things, filled the little water thing. I tell you what, one of the favorite things is that little bead holder that has kind of a rubbery ends on it. That turned into the coolest little, what do you call those things? Where you put stuff in water and kind of twirl it and watch them float. I mean, it just came out really cute. Oh, and then back to this. Bonnie said, this looks like it would be a cumbersome method to do the flying geese. Well, you know what's always bothered me about flying geese? And it bothers me about paper piecing too. Wasting fabric. With fabric over $10 a yard, $12 and $13.95 a yard, it's expensive to quilt. And this doesn't waste fabric. So that is one thing that I love. And honest to goodness, it's so easy. So Daphne, I don't know if you know much about making flying geese this way, but if you give me just a second, I'll show you. Because you end up with this, after the first step, like, well, what is this? And how does that make a flying geese? So let me just do this real quick. I'm just going to move over here. I'll be back. All right. Okay, so I just went ahead. Let me hold it near the camera so you can see it. So now I put this next block, and see, this is my dark fabric. You just can't tell in the back. But do you see the sewing lines? Okay, so I've got my crease that I ironed in, and then I sew 1/4 of an inch on either side of that crease. Now, one of the things I do, no, she doesn't. Let me see. You don't know much about the flying geese method. Okay. Let me tell you. I need to I have some rectangles. Here we go. Normally when you do a flying geese, let me find 2 good fabrics that show up. Normally when you do a flying geese, I don't know. Okay. See this square? Normally you would take a rectangle and you would put this square on the end. And then you would sew a diagonal across here. Then when you finish sewing it, you would flip down this like that. And then you do the same for the other side, and it gives you this big V-shaped dark area in the middle. The only problem is you would waste this much fabric every time, that half of that, because when you would sew on the square and you would sew on the diagonal, and then you fold the diagonal down, then you take and you cut off this much of the light color and this much of the dark color, because this piece you just sewed on, this triangle, becomes now part of that rectangle. See what I'm saying? So that always has bothered me. And I always say, oh, I can use those cute little triangles and make something. Well, I don't. It just ends up, I've got so many scrap bags. It's silly now. So now I'm going to show you how I cut these apart. I hate wasted motion, wasted fabric. And normally I like to do up a bunch of these, go sit and put my feet up in the recliner, watch something on TV and cut them. But I'm going to show you what I do here. Normally you would cut them right down the middle. Well, then when you fold out the fabric, you would end up with these little bunny ears on the edge, and then you have to come along and you have to trim off your bunny ears. I'm not going to do all that. So I come in at an angle, See my angle of my scissors? I cut in at an angle. Just an eighth of an inch past the stitching. And then I cut in at an angle there too. So see, now I've taken a notch out. Then I finish by cutting down the middle. And then I go over and angle it there also. So now I've ended up with a notch. Whoops, you can't see it good. With a notch on that end. And by cutting those notches out, then when I flip these back, I don't have bunny ears. See? No bunny ears showing up. Where if I hadn't cut them, I'd have these little fabrics sticking out here. And then that's just another step. But now do you see what happened once I put that last block? Because I had this that I just made, and then I cut it in half, and you fold this out, and look what you got. That's a flying geese. It makes these two flying geese, and there is no waste. You just cut things open. I mean, I guess you could say those little triangles are waste, but I don't think they count. So then I take and iron these, and not only is it faster, but it saves fabric. And I find it very simple. Now, if I had to figure out the sizes of the squares, I know that there is somewhere, I can probably just type online how to figure out the no waste. This is called the no waste method of flying geese. But it didn't take me long at all to get all these flying geese made. And I still have plenty left to go. But that's a wonderful way to do flying geese. Okay. Ooh, let me see. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Yes. I shop my scrap bags for applique because it doesn't need a lot of, for leaves and berries, and you don't need much. Okay. So smart. I wish I could take credit for it. I wonder, Bonnie, do you know? I know the first time I ever saw this method of flying geese, it was an Eleanor Burns thing. That woman, brilliant. Wow. And right now, if you go to thequiltshow.com with Alex Anderson and Ricky Timms, you can watch free the Eleanor Burns video, the show they made where they made her a legend, quilt legend, and it was in the year 2011. And she's amazing. I mean, that woman she deserves everything that she has gotten in quilting because she's just been wonderful. Okay. Exactly. Okay, you forget which? Yeah, okay. I'll tell you how to remember it. When you're sewing, just remember that piece. Which way does it have to fold? And if it folds this way, because see this folds that way, then you sew closer to that side of your line or your crease. And it doesn't take much, just a thread. And I don't worry. You've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance to work with. And I believe that use that to your advantage. If you end up with a piece of fabric you really want to use, but it's an 1/8 of an inch too short, no problem. Just use that seam allowance to absorb the difference. So meaning, like let's say if this piece right here were the piece that was a little bit too small, and as long as it's within the seam allowance, and if I have a piece that is smaller and I'm trying to use it anyway, I just shorten my stitch length so it doesn't matter. So if you forgot and you just want to sew that 1/4 inch line, that's fine. If this turns out and it's just a smidge too short, no problem. You've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance to work with it. I hope that makes sense to you. I just tell people there's nothing with quilting that you can't fix. It's it's not like baking where you leave out a smidge too much baking powder and the thing doesn't rise. So it can always be fixed. And I've been known quite often to sew together 2 pieces of fabric to give me a big enough square for something. And you know what? Some people might say I'm cheap. I just say I'm thrifty like our grandmothers were. And that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. So I'm going to show you one more time. I hope it's still on. The chat disappeared. Oh, hopefully it's still going. All right. So I've already done this part where I lined up 2 squares on a large square, and they overlap, don't worry. And I sewed on either side, 1/4 inch on either side of the center line. Now I've got this. And so I'm going to pin the right sides together in this corner. You know what I just noticed? Oh, brother. Bonnie, guess what I did? I didn't sew right sides together. So you know what I'm going to do. This is Jinny Beyer fabric right here. I'm going to take these apart and I'm going to fix that. Darn it. So before, I had my light fabrics laying in a pile. Does it show? I want it to show, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm reading where you talk about, for the longest time, about flying geese. And you know what? I've kind of resigned myself to so many things that I love have half square triangles. And then I've kind of resigned myself now with these flying geese, and you see people doing like spirals of flying geese. They are gorgeous. And I've kind of realized that, you know what? I'm going to start liking flying geese a whole lot more, because I want to do a quilt where the flying goose just takes off across the quilt. That, to me, is so pretty, and I'm going to have to be very comfortable with it to do that. So, and then, okay, so I've got one of our subscribers who wants me to do another quilt where I put it on the frame and actually do the quilting. And so I've got that lined up. And then what did I got a request? Oh, I got a request this week for someone who says, can you make a video about labeling a quilt? What do you put on it and how do you do it? And people just jump right in, because I tend to just keep on talking, but jump in. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. Please feel free. I love quilters. I love people that do any kind of hobby or any kind of art. So now I took this off because I really do, instead of just a plain blue, I'd rather have the print show up. So I took them off and I'll stitch them back. Where I have to be careful are the edges where I trimmed, I trimmed it at an angle so that it wouldn't have bunny ears. So I am going to have to be careful with that. And, but this is good. One of the things I said when I decided I wanted to make YouTube videos, one of the things I told myself is I wanted you to see me make the mistakes as much as doing it well, because I learn more from my mistakes than I ever do when I happen to get lucky enough to, I did it right. When I surprise myself by doing it right the first time. So, it's an adventure. If you give me 1 second, be careful. Don't chat and look at the screen when you resew. Isn't that the truth? Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to see you. I'm going to sew this right here. I'll be right back. I am making this right. I always say you have to decide if it's important enough. Even Alex Anderson said, if you can't see it from the back of a galloping horse, it may not be worth taking out and doing over again. Have you ever noticed how hard some of us are on ourselves? And you know what? We're the best friend we'll ever have, ourselves. So, there. I'm happy with that. That was worth doing over. Although I forgot to sew the edges. I forgot and sewed the whole 1/4 of an inch. So, yep, it is showing. Okay, see how it's puckering? Do you see how it looks a little cup shaped? Yeah, there you can kind of see the cup shape. That's because I forgot I had trimmed off some of the edge, and I took a whole 1/4 inch seam, so it's kind of forcing it to cup because it's a little short. So, in the interest of good teaching, I'm going to redo this. Hold on one second. I just have to redo the little bit. Okay. Okay. Now, I think this will do much better. All right. And as I've said before, doing mysteries is wonderful because your skills will improve so much. I tend to be a very impatient quilter, and doing a mystery slows you down because you don't know how it's going to turn out usually, and it slows you down. Now let me press this, and what I had to do is go do narrow. Yeah, see how much flatter that is now? I had to kind of come back out and do a narrower seam where I had already trimmed it. So now that I've gotten this part, believe it or not, this odd looking, looks like a cat or a heart. But now I'm going to, one more time, for those of you who've seen me do this already, and I just match up the outside edges of these angles. I usually put just one pin. If you put a long enough pin, it'll keep it from twisting on you. And let me sew this. I'll be right back, right here. So today I thought we could start talking about labeling a quilt. And I haven't done research on it yet, but I know I can tell you what I remember from things I've read. I have to admit something to you right now. I hate to admit this, but I've got to. That's just who I am. I have never labeled a quilt. Never. And I always seem to be working on quilts at the last minute, and then by the time I just rush and get it in the person's hand, and I have forgotten to label it. But I'm going to rectify that. And I'm just want to show you one more time. See that, whoops, it's not showing up good. Let me see if, yeah, that side looks better. And when I cut these apart, I angle towards the ends. So that, see how it goes down towards each end? And that way, when you flip them up, you don't have the bunny ears. And you press with the dark side on the top. And, whoops, it helps to take out the pin. I crack myself up, I tell you. Okay, so now I've got 2 flying geese. And this, let me tell you what, this is a beautiful quilt. Miss Bonnie's already seen it. I think Daphne saw it. And she only keeps the steps up for 2 more days. Then you have to purchase the pattern, which is always a good thing too. She worked really hard at this, so that's a good thing too. And but anyway, you have to sign up merrymayhem.com and sign up, and you get all the patterns free, and especially if you do it in a timely manner. All right. So let me see. Woohoo, my role model. Hello, P. Beaver. Oh, and you know what? I'm so excited. Sometimes you use the backs on purpose. Yes, that is a good point you brought out, Miss Bonnie. I'm sure she can tell you, but hi, Michelle. I figured you were getting ready for vacation. No problem. I was 15 minutes late getting on here because to do a live feed, it's kind of precarious. You put all these wires in and you kind of cross your fingers that it's actually going to work. But so I was 15 minutes late starting, even though I've been here for hours. It wouldn't recognize the camera. Anyway, but hi, Michelle. And for all of you people, Michelle is the inspiration for me starting this because she moved back home to grandkids and left me here alone. And, you leave me alone too long, you're going to get in trouble. So I said, I'm starting a YouTube channel because I want to reach out to other quilters. I miss having a quilting buddy, and Michelle was the best quilting buddy. So, but anyway, we're talking about labels, and I had to admit, I've never labeled a quilt. I bet you Michelle's labeled a quilt. Michelle is really good at doing things the right way. I have a feeling Bonnie has too. But anyway, and I wanted to make sure you heard that Bonnie brought up a good point. Using the back of a fabric is just as valid as using the front. And if you can't get the right color, sometimes flipping it over will give you just the right, maybe you just want it to be a little more delicate, or just a slightly different shade. So flip a fabric over, that's good too. But anyway, if you subscribe and become a member of our Yahoo group, I'm going to do another giveaway because I've got yards of labels. And in honor of label making, so any of y'all who have made labels, please do me a favor and jot down some things that you've read or know. So I think Bonnie did a Zerbert because it was like, labels. But, you used the fabric pens, and glad you did. Yeah. It used to be that people said you had to hand embroider all the information on a quilt. And I think it stopped a lot of people, honestly, because they're like, what? And I have tried doing little name embroidery on my machine. It doesn't look good. And it's hard to get straight. It's hard to get even. Yada, yada, yada. So I'm with Michelle. I think, you can buy these already printed labels. You can just use a piece of muslin. You can take a piece of the quilt you might have had left over, little blocks or something, put them together for a label. I thought this fabric's really cute and a little more modern, hip for younger people's quilts, whatever. But you can also get CDs where you can print on your own fabric. And you do know, you have to make sure the fabric's been washed. But you can take an iron fabric on freezer paper, put the wrong side of the fabric against the shiny part of the freezer paper, iron it down, and then cut it to your 8.5 by 11 and then you have just made your own printable fabric. And the fabric you buy is usually stiffened so it can go through the printer. And but nowadays, let's say you don't want to, so that way, if you've got a CD that could print out whatever kind of label, you could do it on your inkjet. But then there are different things you have to do to make it color fast. So, but there are fabric markers you can get that are permanent. I like the leftover block, Michelle, you're right. And and if you use the pens, I always heat set anything that I want to make sure it's going to stay. But there are, Michelle, what are the name of those pens? You just want something that is a permanent and archival's good, so that there's nothing in the ink that might eat through the fabric. But mainly permanent pens. And that way you could take something like this, applique it on the back of your quilt. I usually do the bottom right-hand corner of the back, and put your information. One thing I'm going to start doing for any heirloom quilts or quilts I'm giving to my kids that I've really spent time on is I'm going to start enclosing a little fabric, leftover fabric from making the quilt, so that one day down the line, if they want to fix it or have to do any repair work, the fabric is right behind the label and they just have to unstitch the label and grab the fabric. So that's always a fun thing to do. But labeling is important. It's so funny. We think of history and the recording of history as something that's already done. That we don't think of ourselves as one day having historians look at us to see what life was like in 2018, but they will be doing that. And who knows, it might be people from other planets that are studying us. But I have, when I read articles from some of the quilt museums and they talk about the work they do and tracing down the family and tracing down the heritage, and whether we realize it or not, we're telling a story by making these quilts. And it would be nice to have a little more of the information out there. And so on a label like this, I would put the quilt name. And if it's a design, if it was designed by someone, I'd put design by. If someone else quilts it, I would label that. The year that you made it. If it was Jinny Beyer fabric, I'd probably write that. Just little information. And if it's a special quilt or what is going to be an heirloom quilt, maybe a little saying about what the special occasion was. But it's up to you. And if you know that you're just making it for a baby that's going to spit up on it and it won't be an heirloom quality, you can decide. What I do sometimes, if I'm not in the mood, when I'm quilting it, I'll quilt the child's name or my name and the date in the quilting. And that way it's done. I don't have to think too hard about it. And sometimes I just take a thin Sharpie and write on the back of the quilt. But technically it is a good thing if you label your quilts. Because it's just nice, it's nice to know who the person was and maybe what time period. I mean, they can date quilts do you know that you don't date quilts by the oldest fabric? You date quilts by the newest fabric. And it makes sense if you think about it, because I've collected fabrics for 30 years, but I didn't make the quilt 30 years ago. And if there's a modern fabric, like a 2018 fabric in it, then that's, of course, when you made the quilt. So, they can always date the fabrics, but it's really nice if you know what region of the country, what was going on in the quilter's life at that time. It's kind of like artwork. Really, these are works of art. Now, let me see what y'all say about it. Please give me your opinions. All right, let's see. She machine embroiders her labels. See, you're one of those smart people who know how to do machine embroidery. I do not. I'm no good at it. It's not my thing. But boy, I wish I knew how when it comes time to do labels. So now, then I guess do you hoop your label and maybe put Pigma pens? There you go, Bonnie. It's the Pigma pens that you can write, and you can get them very fine if you want. Great. Bonnie always comes up with the answer. She's so good. But Beaver, I don't know what your first name is, honey. I don't know what to call you. But I guess you hoop it and maybe put some kind of stabilizer on the back. Oh, you're Busy Pat. Hi, Busy Pat. Okay, I know you by Busy Pat. In fact, you just joined our group, and I love it. You're a chatter. It's great. So, oh, no, I'm sorry your brother's embroidery machine bit the dust. Oh, boy. And, Michelle, I didn't know you've been doing a lot of embroidery. That's neat. So, yeah, in fact, Busy Pat just joined our Yahoo group, and I can't wait to go back and with a little bit more time, answer a lot of her questions. She's real cute. I know she's going to be a great addition to the Yahoo group. And I want to thank Bonnie. She put a pattern on the group. I love it. This is your group, and I want you to feel like you can put anything on. Oh, I'm glad, Busy Pat. I loved Bonnie Hunter's live feeds, and I thought, that is so cool. And then I thought, that's kind of neat. And then I wanted to kind of do a laid back kind of YouTube video where I could answer questions. And it doesn't matter if you've never quilted or if you've been quilting a bunch of years, and kind of hit on all of it. And then one day I said, it'd be nice if we had a Yahoo group so we could ask questions. And when I just make the videos, it's kind of one-sided. I put it out there, but I'm not getting things back. And that's part of what I wanted, is the interaction with you guys and the connection. How do I say this? In this political climate, I found myself sometimes just kind of hiding out at home. It's stressful, and not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing how other people feel about things. There's a lot of anger out there. And I thought, I need to make a connection with people, and it needs to be a safe place where we all can have fun and chat and not worry about things. And I don't care if you're a painter, if you do needlepoint, you're all welcome here. We all have things we share. And I think, art is art, and we all share. So now I don't know why the chat keeps going away. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's read this. We are going to bloom with this. Sewing is therapy, and we need to bloom, don't we? And, I'm finding, besides just the political climate making it a little more fearful, this weather, this hot, humid weather that we've been having, my asthma seems to get a little worse with age. And so I feel like sometimes I'm trapped in this house, and I hate that. I used to be an outdoors girl, but, it's kind of interfering. But if we can chat like this, I get so excited when I make a video, or especially now with this chat with you, that it's like I'm so inspired and I'm ready to go make 10 quilts this week alone. But it's fun, and it builds me up, and I thank you. You have lots of patterns, and yeah, I love it. I love it. I appreciate that. And even if I don't make that specific pattern that somebody puts in a group, it inspires me. It gets me excited. And that's what this is all about. It truly is. So if you joined our Yahoo group, or any subscriber, you just send your information, send a request in for Our Time to Quilt at windstream.net, and I will send you an invitation. You can join, and I'm going to have a giveaway for quilt labels this week. So be looking for that. So Oh, I've got some exciting things to show you. And like I told Mark, whoops, I had to feed my need for fabric this week. And I will tell you why. It's so nice now. I finally I filed to get my Social Security. And it wasn't going to be much. So I said, I'm going to get it. And then when I see it in the bank, I go, I might need to buy a little bit of fabric with that. This is my latest purchase. It was from, isn't that funny that it didn't show up? FatQuarterShop.com. I love fabric.com, FatQuarterShop.com, connecting threads, love it. And so I haven't even opened it yet. This is the first time. I just got it yesterday. And I'll tell you what all this fabric is for. Isn't that pretty? I love blue. Blue's my favorite color. Look at those candy canes. Different. Now, if you, yeah, there's always. That's exactly it. I have to buy fabric because y'all are depending on me to, I have to show you. Well, let me tell you what this is. We're going to be doing this together, I hope. I saw the neatest thing. Every year I wait to find what's going to be this year's Christmas excitement, this year's Christmas craft to make. And I just saw it the other day online. And what it is, Michelle, you might like this because you lived here for a while. It's a fabric Moravian star. And what I like about it especially is you use cardstock and you glue the fabric on the cardstock, and then you can stitch it together by hand or machine. And the first person did all the stitching of the little diamonds by hand. That's great if you've got lots of time, but I'm always running behind. And but I thought, what neat gifts for friends who are sewers. And I'd put on a retreat here in North Carolina every November, and we do some kind of gift exchange, something handmade. This is going to be perfect. And I saw the person whose blog spot, I'll give you the blog spot and everything, but they said smaller prints, directional prints. So if you'll notice this, here, I got to go with the bling. Here's a small print. Blue, just because I love blue. And then you notice these fabrics have stripes, and they're smaller stripes because it's made with 1 inch, 60-degree diamonds. So, and this has lots of different stripes. And the stripes make it really pop. And it shows, having some kind of pattern really shows all the different angles. So, and then they said they went online to this one paper company site and bought the pre-cut diamonds. Well, being cheap as I am, thrifty, yeah, I typed in and said, free, 1 inch, 60-degree diamonds. Up pops the free templates. Yes. So I'll also give you that site, and then I just take cardstock, put it in, and then I will print out however many of those little things I need. And the site I found does between 1 inch and 2 inches, I think. So you could do them different sizes. And it makes a beautiful ornament about this big. And I'm so excited. I want each of my kids to get one, have a couple for the retreat and a couple for sewing friends. And who knows, maybe I'll even have another contest. And so that's this year. It's fun. And I'm getting really better, Michelle. I'm going to be starting this in the next 2 weeks because the only way I'm ever going to get something like this done is to get started. So anyway, I'm excited. And I want to tell you, I ordered this fabric maybe Wednesday, and it was Wednesday, Thursday, and it was here Saturday. And none of these fabrics were over. There might be one that was $9.99, but most of them were on sale, $6 or $7 a yard. So, and I got half a yards for everything except this one, just because that has so many. I mean, if you use this stripe to make them, the ornament will look one way. This, a totally different. I mean, each one gives it a different look. So that's going to be our fun. And I will post it on our Yahoo site. I want to kind of get it and play around with it a little bit first before I post it, because I don't want to just dump it on y'all. And if it doesn't work, oh, so sorry. But anyway. All right. So talked about that. We talked about the labels. We talked about Moravian Star labels, this mystery quilt. Michelle, I'm going to show this mystery quilt to you again because, oh, honey, I love it. Love, 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 love it. If you were still here, this is what we would be doing this weekend. All right. Here is the pattern. And I love that. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. I'm doing it with a Jinny Beyer border print. And I love using Jinny Beyer border prints for things like kaleidoscopes. And I'm thinking, see the dark squares? What if that was a kaleidoscope square of the border print? So when I finish the video on this, I'll show you what I ended up deciding. But this, I'm so glad I used good fabric on this mystery, because this is a keeper. This is a keeper. And if you want this pattern free, please go to marymayhem.com. It's 2 more days. All the clues will be up for free. And she does beautiful directions. I mean, this thing's going together beautifully. And I was hoping I'd have more to show you, but I didn't get everything cut out like I planned on doing. And, but anyway, I will be coming out with that video this week because I'm going to keep working on it today, tomorrow, whatever. And so then let me catch up real quick a minute. You don't believe me. See. I could do any kind. You just don't know. Okay. You are a great enabler. Oh, thousands of bolts. Yes, I have gone there. They do have Stonehenge. I'm going to have to go again. I bought some fabric from her at one point. She seems real nice. Yeah, share. This is a great place to share where you buy fabric and stuff. So let me see. Show again the blue. Let me see. Oh, okay. I had to think, what blue is she talking about? I love blue. Is this pretty? And yes, the little, those are silver sparkly metallics. Isn't it gorgeous? I tell you what, they've come such a long way with metallics. Remember when we first used to get them, it would come off on your hands. This stuff is on. It's great. Isn't it beautiful? So I think a Moravian star out of that is going to be exquisite. And the thing I wanted to do some trying with some of these fabrics is fussy cutting the little 1-inch diamonds. Now, maybe I'm being a little over-ambitious. I might find that that's a pain. Forget that. Like, wouldn't it be neat if I could center the poinsettias on the 1-inch? We'll see. We'll see. Mark always shakes his head like, oh, my gosh, there she goes again. So now what I wanted to show you is last Saturday, another clue came out from my Jinny Beyer, and I wanted to show you what I've got. And okay, this is going to be, you know what? I left the actual other block upstairs, but this is the center of the block. And this is an extremely dark teal. It's really beautiful, beautiful color. Then the next tiny one is Whoops, hold on. I cut all these out by hand. I drew around the templates. This little piece right here. And let me see if you can, this is not the entire block, but it'll give you an idea. Here is the paper piecing foundation for this Jinny Beyer. So see how it starts with a triangle and then it rotates and swirls out. And I decided to do it by hand because you only need half the fabric to do it by hand. And that way I can save more of my Jinny Beyer fabric for later. Then the next size is this. And not only did I cut all these out by hand, the things I do for Jinny, I took and marked the little sewing dots. See the little, so that when I sew by hand, whoops, hold on. See the little dots I marked? And then the next size is, and you know, please don't think this is hard. It's really not. I mean, it's time consuming, but it's not hard. Here's the next size. And then here's the next size. And all of these are marked. There's a little dot. And then here is the next size, all marked with the little sewing points. And then the next, the last. So I had 18 to cut out for each of 5 or 6 templates and 12 for the last one. So you can figure out how many that is. And here's the little templates. These had to be done on the reverse. So here's the side where you can read, although is that showing up backwards to y'all? But anyway. And then when you just turn it over when you want to do the reversed. So these are all reversed. And it's 6 of the blocks with that swirl. And these colors are just unbelievable. So let me put all these things away. But I sit in the evening and just, this is the time to do my prissy work, I'll call it. So I wanted to show you that's working. Do you think anybody would you like me to give you a little, you need clear templates? Yes. Exactly. Yes. And see, to do this, she has you cut out like a 4-inch rectangle. But then that wastes, since these are triangle shapes, it wastes so much fabric. And I don't want to waste my Jinny Beyer fabric. Now, there's another page that goes with this, and I would have to make 6 pages of this, and then 6 pages of that, and because it actually, these things kind of like come out, you know, like you would put these two together. But I did the last one by hand. I thought I want to do this one by hand. Would anyone like for me to show you how I do the hand sewing of these things? Is there anybody wanting to see that? I didn't bring down my silk thread. Yes? Oh, Bonnie, you're so good. You're so good. Your teacher's pet. You know it. Okay. Normally I would use silk thread or, well, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. I use silk thread for applique. I use Coat and Clark XP for hand sewing. So, and you do know, I learned this. I learned so much watching Alex Anderson way back when. Let me find my needle. Yeah, Bonnie's good. I tell you what, I think Bonnie could do this. In fact, you know what, Bonnie? Why don't you do this one week? When I go camping, you could be the hostess with the mostest. So, all right. Once I can get these feeble eyes Hey, Michelle, did I tell you that I've got cataracts too? She said they're not bad enough yet to do the surgery, but all those years at the beach with no sunglasses, shame, shame, shame. Anyway, so no way you get in front of a camera. Oh, Bonnie, come on. Okay, so I thread my needle while the thread is still on the spool. And let me tell you why. Thread has a twist to it. And if you cut the thread off first and thread the needle, you will forget which way the thread came off the spool. Have you ever been sewing and it just kept wanting to knot up on you? It's usually because you've got it going the wrong way. So there is a way to do it. And the short piece in the hand thread is the first part that came off the thread spool. The long knotted part is the last part to come off the thread spool. So, all right. I was lucky enough to take a class. I was at the last seminar that Jinny Beyer gave down in Hilton Head. When I first saw how much that thing cost, I thought there's no way I could ever afford to go. But thanks to a very good divorce settlement, I went. So here we go. It's like all those years I was being so careful and putting the family first, and he did what? I don't think so. So, okay. So here is the first piece. And I have to remember this is backwards. But if this is the first piece, then F2, this is not piece number 1. Piece number 2 goes there. So, but what I'm going to do is put this piece, join these pieces together, okay? So what I do is I look for the sewing dots, and they're not where you would think. See this point? The actual sewing point is way back here because it has to be, I know, you are so cute, but you have to be a 1/4 inch in from here, a 1/4 of an inch in from here, so the sewing point is way back here. So I touch these dots up, I line these up like this. Now I'll go ahead and put a little pin in it, but usually when I'm holding pieces this small, I don't pin them. Now I'm going to bring this camera in a little closer. Pardon me, don't get seasick. All right, bring this in closer. All right.
Come from Carruthers T. Come from Carruthers T.
1 second. I'm sorry, guys. Hello? Hello? Yes, this is. Hi, I'm just fine. How are you? Whoop, you there? Hello? Okay. Well, sorry, that's a student of mine, so I felt like I had to answer. Okay, so this is my sewing dot right there. So that's my starting point. And, whoops, let me make sure. Whoops, hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I've got to take this. I'm supposed to meet her tomorrow. Hello? Yes, I can hear you now. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. You tell me what time and we'll do it then. Uh-huh. Sure. In fact, let me call you back a little bit later this afternoon. Right now, I'm doing a live feed on YouTube. And so, yeah, my talking is on air. But let me call you back and then we'll figure out whether we're going to meet at the shop or meet here. Okay, super. Well, thank you, hon. And I will call you back. All right. Bye-bye. You never know what you're going to get on live feeds, huh? Yes, I know. This blouse is kind of neat. There are some beautiful flower prints. Okay, here we go. Let me get, whoops. All right. So I brought the thread up through. Did you just see that? I had that fabric folded back. So I would have ended up with something that I didn't want to have. All right. I get the fabrics in the right place. Normally, I put a thimble on this finger, but I don't have it right here. So now I've just done one little stitch through. I've got the two fabrics together. Doing it by hand, I go right back in that first hole or close to it and make another entire stitch, okay? Then I pull this through. And I'm going to tell you people, this is going to sound odd to you, but use a fine, short needle if possible. Your stitches will be much better. People always think that you have to have a long needle so you can load a lot of stitches on it, but that's not quite what you want to do. Okay, so now we have... It is now officially locked because we did two stitches in one place. Now I'm going to put the needle back down. People always make the mistake thinking that the needle moves, but not really. What moves is this hand. Because what you're going to do is take little nips of fabric, and you can feel, my back finger feels for that needle to know I've made it all the way through the back of the fabric. And this hand just kind of goes up and down and up and down and up and down and loads the stitches on. Then usually I would use my thimble on this finger to push the needle all the way through and pull. So let me let you see. No, it's hard to see these stitches. I've used a gray, which that's why I use gray thread for almost all of my piecing, because it blends beautifully. But I ended up putting about 6 stitches in this short period. Now, this is the important thing when you're hand sewing. This is the important part. Here is my thread right there. I go in behind that stitch and make a stitch in place right there. And what that does, that's considered a locking stitch, and it makes your hand stitching so much sturdier. You won't have to worry that, if that stitch is coming loose, shifting, that if it were to break somewhere down the line, that you would lose all your stitching because you've got that little lock stitch. So again, what I'm doing is I'm just going up and down with the fabric with this other hand. And you notice the needle hand stays pretty still. The other hand I call it loading the stitches on the needle. And right there, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches are on that needle. And then I pull it through. And like I say, I normally have a, in fact, well, I'm trying to find a thimble. I don't know if I have one right away. But I don't see one right here. But anyway, if I had a thimble, you would see it. It really comes in handy. And this finger, sometimes I have to take my emery board and sand my fingertip because it's always touching, it always feels for the prick. So I know that the stitch has gone all the way through. So ready? This is where the thread came up. I'm going to go back and take a little stitch behind it and then keep going. And if you watch, pin's in my way, I just rock the fabrics up and down to load them onto the needle. And right now, I only have about 4 this time. If I had my thimble, see, I just automatically want to use that thimble finger to push the fabric through. I also use Thread Heaven or something like it. You can use beeswax to coat your thread because it keeps your thread from wearing, and it also helps it glide through the fabric easier. Now, I no longer have to mark my 1/4 of an inch, but there's no problem at all if you want to mark your 1/4 of an inch. I'm getting ready to come up. In fact, I'm just about there on the finish line on this corner. I'm going to go ahead and knot off so I can show you how to knot off. But before that, I'm going to do a locking stitch, which is just go back a stitch, go back and do a stitch in place. That's a locking stitch. Now for this, let me see. It would help if I can lay it down. For this, I'm going to knot off. So it's laying down here, and you can see the thread. I take and put my needle under and around the thread, so I make a big loop. And then what I do is I grab this thread, the thread that's coming up into the needle, and I push my finger down right where I want my knot to go and pull, and it makes a knot right down on the end there. I'll show you again. So I just take and go around and under the thread to make a big loop. See this loop? Then I take and hold down at the bottom, putting my finger right down where I want the knot to go. And let's see if you can see the knot. Oh yeah, it's right down. Actually, there's 2 of them. One's a little bit up and one's right down the fabric. And what I like to do is have 2 knots width of knot right at the main place where I want this, so that it's a nice and firm. I don't feel like 1 knot is sufficient. 1 knot could slip through the fabric, but 2, you're good. And you know, then the next seam I sew, I'll also reinforce this stitching line. And then I open this out. Now I'm folding it towards the bigger piece and the darker piece, and then I finger press it. And there you go. Got this done. And I wanted to show you, remember I told you that I no longer I no longer have to mark my 1/4 inch sewing line because I've been doing it long enough. But just to show you, you get, if you do it long enough, you can eyeball that 1/4 of an inch. So it's just a matter of doing it long enough. Otherwise, what I would do is, this is one of those rods that you can use, but any ruler or anything, I would place it even with the fabric and draw a line, and that'll keep you on the straight and narrow. In fact, I have 2 of these rods. That might have to be a giveaway coming up soon. Any of you, I'll have to say, okay, who wants to put their name in? Who likes to do hand sewing? But there you go. And I sit and do this in the evenings, and it really doesn't take that long. All right, I'm going to put my needle away and my fabric back here. Move the camera back. 1 second, please, people. Okay. Okay. There we go. No, I gotta go up more. Now, why is it so close? Ah! That's a little better. All right. You know what they have? They have, I was laughing at Busy Pat saying her hand normally has a Band-Aid on it. They have things, oh, I don't know if I was, oh, you can't see my junky drawer. What a shame. It's a junk drawer. But normally, I think I keep them in my applique box now. But there are things that you can buy. There are things you can buy that are little finger pads. And there are some that are, they're called, it's a little piece of sticky plastic or rubbery plastic thimble, but it's only, it's a little oval and it can fit across the tip of your finger or on the finger, and that protects against the constant pricking with the needle. Then there's these little round ones you can put on too, and they help you grab the needle. And if I'm going to do sewing for any length of time, I put one of those on. So I have a thimble on this finger, and my preference are the plastic ones you can drop in boiling water and then put them on your finger as soon as possible, and it'll form to your finger. So a plastic thimble goes on this finger, a round sticky pad that is a little gripper, and you can peel it off and put it on any slick plastic and use them days and days. But that goes on this finger. And then I have the thing that protects against pricks on this finger. And usually on one of these first fingers is my little finger pin cushion. So then around my neck will be scissors. I'll never forget, I ran into the Jinny Beyer shop one time. And when we drive, Mark usually drives. And so I take that time to do handwork. And it had taken us a while to get there. And I rushed in. I was afraid her shop was going to close. I rushed in. And she laughed when she looked at me. And I thought, oh, okay. But it was because I had threads on my sweater. I had needles and pins sticking in my sweater where, while I was busy sewing, I had scissors on a ribbon around my neck. She laughed at me. She said, "You really are a quilter, aren't you?" And yep, I sure am. So, don't worry about all that stuff. In fact, as quilters, haven't you ever picked threads off your friends? It's just something we do. But I'm going to check and see what you've been saying. Oh, Michelle's got to run. Bye, hon. Have a great vacation. I'll be thinking of you. Let us know how it goes. I know you'll have a great time. Take care, Michelle. All right, let's see. Yes, I learned to use a short needle with Jinny Beyer. She uses a betweens, which is a tiny little quilting needle. And she said, you'll get better stitches. And I'm like, really? And pick threads off your dog too. My dog, in fact, he's right under the desk under here. It's a habit I started years ago with my oldest dog, and I keep their dog bed and blanket under there. And they just crawl under while I sew. And I love having them there. But yeah, the longer the needle you use, the bigger stitches you end up taking. So try to shrink that down a little, guys. Yeah, I have big hands too. It's like, oh, now that's a neat idea. Thimble is masking tape around your middle finger. That's neat. Thimblets, that's it. Thank you, Bonnie. Thimblets. That's the sticky little things. And I love them because you can still feel through them. The thing is, when I go out and garden, I never wear gloves. I only use thimbles when I really have to, because I really like to feel what I'm doing. And I have to be able to feel that needle to know that I've got a good enough stitch. And so the thimblets work really good because they're soft, pliable. It's just like a little thin sticker than cellophane, but it's a little clear thing and with a real good stick. And so I just take and put them on a hard plastic that I can then the next day peel them back off and put on. But I've gone to bed with my thimble on and my little sticky things on. I have been in the shower washing my hair with my plastic thimble on, because by the time, I put it in boiling water, then put it on my finger and let it cool on my finger. it fits so good that you forget you've got it on. So, and I love those because they're very inexpensive. Not even $2. And you put a mug of water in the microwave, boil it for 2 minutes, take it out, drop the thimble in, and then as soon as it's cool enough to put on your finger, do it real quick. So I didn't realize what time it is. My gosh, my time with you flies. But, and I've got to tell you, the best needles it used to be only John James. They were English brand needles. They have a coating on them, and it's wonderful. It makes all the difference in the world. But for those people like Busy Pat, I keep hand sewing things by my chair for the evenings, and I sit the sewing machine during the day because I get tired of sitting at the sewing machine for so long. But what were we talking about now? I forgot now. Let me see. But look for needles. I like, yeah, needle pullers are good. I like, you know what else you can use for a needle puller is the latex gloves. Cut a finger off. Because they sell them. They're called cots, 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 and you can get them to kind of roll onto your finger, and but anything like that will work, and it really does help. Hand fatigue comes from having to grip the needle so hard because you load. That's why I try not to load about more than 5 or 6 stitches. When I first started hand sewing, 4 stitches were the most I could do. But so I guess you just heard Mark drove up, and we're going to have his birthday dinner and dessert tonight. So I probably should get ready to go. And I made him, he wanted a devil's food cake with cream cheese, buttercream icing. And I made that last night and took a few licks out of the bowl. It was good. And then we're going to grill out a couple steaks and nice good sized baked potato and have a salad with it. And that's a special meal for us. So we'll enjoy that a lot. Oh, thank you, Busy Pat. I will definitely tell him. He's a sweetheart. I'm either like, I'll Google over him or want to punch him. But we're both firstborn, so we're stubborn and we know what we want. And so sometimes it's funny, but it's a lot of fun sharing it with him. All right. Are there any more questions that you have? Oh, I know. I wish y'all were here. I would give you some of that dinner. I know I can't have much of the icing. Unfortunately, I'm type 2 diabetic. I was warned for years. They said, you carry weight around your middle. You need to get rid of it. And I didn't. But luckily, I'm able to control it reasonably well. And I keep trying to lose weight, but don't we all? But anyway, guys, it was so much fun to have you on chatting. And hopefully this will be saved. And I'll see you again next week. Now, next week I don't have anything on Sunday. So I will see if I can't make sure this thing works by 3. So we'll just keep on talking. But I hope you have a great week this week. And, I didn't even ask you what you're sewing. But Busy Pat, you can look at all the pictures Michelle put on and Bonnie on our Yahoo site. And that's a lot of fun. And please, feel free to make your own album on Yahoo or send them to me and I will put them up. But I hope you have a great week. And Bonnie, I'm counting on you to start a project this week or work on something because I want to see more of your work. You're really good with it. And Elizabeth, I am so glad you were here. Next Sunday, let's get you chatting some more. We'd like to know more about you. Well, y'all take care. Y'all are the best. Have a great quilty week. And I'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye, guys. You're the best. You're the best. Bye-bye.